for coming out. I just can't appreciate it enough. I'm going to tell you what, this is just a little thing with growing up here. This Banner Lake is a very, very special place. And you know, to me, you know what, it's my neighborhood. I'm probably off this side. Well, I'm just saying from a kid and on up, it just was a very special place, and all the things that went on, whether it's athletically or what it might have been, we had so many incredible people out of Banner Lake, and I just hate to lose this history. And so thank you, Alfred, and everybody getting together to make this happen, because I just thank you so much, because this is too important, because you know what, state championship team, everybody else, and if we need 2 or 3 of these, we're going to get them going, because this is too important to the community. And Banner Lake is a special, special place, you know, and that's, you can tell I love the community, can't you? You know? Anyway, thank you, Alfred. Here we go. Let's make this happen. Everybody start telling some stories.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone who came out to support us today in this event. Like Harry said, it's important that we begin to just capture some of the history that we have. Unfortunately, one thing that we know for sure, nobody's going to live forever. And as a result, what we need to do is to just go ahead and get that information and get it captured now. And that's what we're here tonight. That's what we intend to do. I just want to give a lot of accolades to Harry. Last year was the 100th anniversary of Martin County. Prior to 1925, we were actually Palm Beach County, and some of you probably know that. And so last year was a year, it's where we got together, and some of the smaller communities came and they met at the Stewart Heritage Museum, and we were recorded to capture that history. And I'd like to say before we get started that this is not the first time that we've met to capture history. So if you were to go to Hobe Sound Pioneers, you will see about 14 interviews that has been done. And then if you go to Stewart Heritage on YouTube, you'll see the recordings that were done last year that I just referenced. Now, having said that, what Harry and I have decided to do was tonight we will be focusing mostly on Banner Lake. But let the truth be told, you can't totally focus on Banner Lake without also mentioning some of the other locations here, such as Gomez and Fruta Hammock. I'm going to say that again. Fruta Hammock. And the reason that I want to say Fruta Hammock is because it no longer exists. And so we didn't get a chance to get any of those people on record other than maybe Gilbert Miller. But we do have Douglas Miller here. And Douglas Miller is a veteran. He was the first African American from Martin County to enter into the Air Force. And one thing that I certainly must say, that he's one of the sharpest 93-year-olds that you're ever going to meet. So certainly he comes in handy, and he has all of the information. So what I'd like to do is to use some analogies, since we're in a restaurant, I'd like to say that I'm going to just set the table, if you will. And so what I want to say is that I don't want to jump right into Hobe Sound. I want to say how it is that a lot of people ended up actually coming into Banner Lake and Hobe Sound and Fruta and Gomez. So we know that Florida became a state in 1845. And shortly after that, there was a guy by the name of Henry Flagler. And Henry Flagler felt that with all the beauty of Florida, and what we have to remember is from about Central Florida all the way into South Florida, there was nothing here but a bunch of woods. And he had this idea that if he could run a railroad track all the way through to Miami, then he could help develop Florida. He was a smart man, because the railroad track would later be known as the eighth wonder of the world. And so what Mr. Flagler did, he started his railroad track, and a lot of the people that didn't have jobs, they got work with the railroad track. And we know that in 1894, I'll say it again, in 1894, he took the railroad track all the way into Palm Beach. And I'm gonna put a pin in it right there. I'm gonna ask the folks who was on the panel with me just to introduce themselves. I'd like them to talk about their spouse and maybe their parents. Because again, this recording is something that's gonna be around a lot longer than us. And I'd like for one of their kids or grandkids to see this recording one day and say, hey, he just mentioned my grandfather. So Mr. Clarence Queen, who's near and dear to me, you're up next.
Yes, my name is Clarence Queen, and I'm from Hobe Sound, 8th Avenue. My wife is Lisa Hastings. She's from Gomez, Florida. Oh, my parents. My father owned a landscape company in Hobe Sound. His name was Harold Queen Sr. He worked on Jupiter Island for years with Jenkins, Boynton, all the little companies, the landscaping company. My mother also worked on Jupiter Island also, but I can't remember who she worked for.
My name is Gail Miller, married to Alfred Miller. My parents are James and Bessie Rowe. My grandparents is Theodore and Hannah Pippins, and they came from Arkansas. And then also Ida and William Bryan. And even though I was born in New Britain, Connecticut, I grew up in the Battle Lake community. Growing up in the Battle Lake community, as now I realize, was a great place to be. And we'll get into details a little later. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Loyal Wiley Jr. I'm originally from Hobe Sound, born and raised. Lived on Anton Way. My nickname is Bo Wiley. My dad's name was Sester Wiley. He originally out of West Palm Beach. My mother name is Carrie Lou Wiley. She's originally a Harris, one of the biggest families in Hobe Sound.
Amen.
And I'm also a veteran, and I have two sisters, 3 brothers. My 2 smaller brothers, they played with Martin County High School. They were state champions, or 2-time state champion of basketball. They were very active in the community. My best friend would be here, but he didn't make it. He had passed away. Donnie St. Ange was my best friend, which was from St. Ange Market, which was a very prominent store. And I like to say to Harry that Anthony Jackson, one of his friends, would have been here, but he sent his greatest hope.
My name is Caretha Monet Miller, and my parents are Elizabeth Monet, came from West Florida, and my dad's name is Elizabeth Johnson Monet, and my dad came from Georgia, and he bought this house that we were all born in, the early 30s, maybe 34, something like that. So we were all from that little area, and it was the house that Mrs. Bostow bought for the employees. Whoever worked over there, she tried to provide as best she could. Housing, food, and whatever it was, and he had a lot of children. So she was always saying, take these leftovers to your family, Joe. So she was very good to us. So much about his employer, Boston. She did so much for the community. So much. So I just want to put that out on her. My husband's name is Douglas Miller, sitting down there.
Good evening. My name is Gloria Johnson Patterson. I am married to this man right here, Jermaine Patterson, and we've been married for 60 years. Well, my father's name was Washington James Johnson. My mother's name was Willie Lee Johnson. And there were 13 kids. I'm not going to name them all, but there were 13 of us. 8 boys and 5 girls. And I just want to say I'm glad to be here tonight.
I'm not a very good speaker. These things make me nervous. And I don't really, my name is Jermaine Patterson. I live on Alabama Way.
Want to hear your mouth, Dad?
I was raised in Alabama Way, the little blue house that's still standing today. And I worked at Grumman Aircraft for 38 years. My father was Henry Blue Patterson. Everybody called him Blue, Mr. Blue. And he was Mr. Blue to everybody around here. He worked on Juvenile at Juvenile Club until he retired, driving trucks. He was like a supervisor on the truck. And nobody drove that truck with him and me at times to get it home. My mother is Annie Mae Patterson. She worked on Juvenile for years. She worked for the lady was Sally Johnson. Nobody probably know that because they moved out of the state at an early age. And she finished up with this, I'm gonna call her Miss Letters, because that's the only name I ever tell the lady to work on. We always fished on Juvenile because he always was on the riverfront and we would be free to go over there whenever we wanted to. That's when fishing was catching fish. My grandmother was Leslie Bentley, better known as Mama Leslie. And I believe just about everybody here was whooped by Mama Leslie. And she was blind. And she didn't miss nothing when she was whipping me. I got many with her.
My name is Douglas Miller. I'm the last child of Augustine. I'm the last child of James Miller and Augustine Page Miller. My mother was born in Lockaway, Florida, and they moved to Hobe Sound in 1922. And my dad was born in Nassau, Bahamas, and he came to Florida in 1912. And so we lived in Hamilton when I was born, but the other 3 children lived down on Clay Street. We had 10 acres down there. And it didn't rain that year. My dad lost the 10 acres because all the fertilizer failed. The plants didn't grow to produce a crop, and he lost the 10 acres on the fertilizer field. So then we moved up to Fruiter, and then I was born in 1933, and 1931, and then 1939 we moved up here to Hobe, and I've been here ever since, except the time I spent in the Air Force and back if I was working in different places. I had one brother and two sisters. They all passed away. I'm the only one left, so
Here you go, sir.
I worked with the aircraft as a test mechanic after I got out of service and
Do you need anything
worked
else?
on Jupiter Island. I retired from the Jupiter Island Club as a bell captain. So I've been real busy most of my life until now. So I can't think of anything else, but anybody have any questions, I can probably tell them anything that happened in the 30s and 40s. Thank you.
I know you in the Air Force.
How long were you in the Air Force?
If you could hold those, we'll come back to them. And again, I'll pass this mic. And as you pass it, just make sure everybody keep the volume up as high as you can. Thank you. Oh, testing. So what I'd like to do from this point, I put a pin in it when I said that Flagler was coming south. He would eventually build on Palm Beach. And we know that a lot of workers came to this area to work on Palm Beach, where he was going to build the Royal Ponciana and the Breakers Hotel. However, we also know that some of his workers were called section men. And the reason that they were called section men was that they were kind of left behind in different strategic locations to make sure that if anything ever happened to the railroad, that they could get there quickly. So we believe that some of the first black people that came to this area actually came as section men. Then we know that by around 1919, there were other blacks that were moving into this area. Again, I'm gonna get into Banner Lake, but I wanna set the table again, because Banner Lake was not really maybe the first populated place. We did have, again, I wanna mention Fruita Hammock. And Fruita Hammock was about 70 acres that was nestled right against the river where Loblolly is. It was on the easternmost shore of the river. And those people eventually were bought out, and the land was conserved. So from that point, what I'd like you to know that some of the earliest black pioneers to this area were actually, like Doug was saying, that his father had 10 acres, but that was on Gomez Avenue. And so there was a large concentration of black people that was living on Gomez Avenue. They all had lots. Mrs. Rozier, Mr. Johnson Davis, the Hollands, all of these people had, and Douglas can elaborate on some of this a little bit later, but your first largest concentration of black pioneers were living near and on Gomez Avenue. My father was born on the Spicer Flower Farm on Gomez Avenue in 1928, where his father was the supervisor there. From that point, people started to move into Gomez. Gomez, as we know it, there was not a lot of people there, but it was scantily populated. Around 1919, 1918, my former president of the Banner Lake Club, Lisa Dames, is here, and we know that her relatives, the Haslams, that they were living in the Gomez area in addition to the Fruita area. They farmed up there as well. But what may be a little known fact is that some of the earliest black people to move to this area actually lived west of town. And they lived on large plots of land there. I think the Prestons lived there. All total, they probably owned about 140 acres. We had Mr. Sam Glover. He lived there. He was a farmer, and he would sell a lot of his produce to the St. Owens family. And we had several other people that lived there. And so my relatives came here with Mr. Preston from Center Hill, Florida. And they actually lived out on the farming area west of town, as did the Whites. And so we know that by 1924, someone took a notice to this area. And they realized the same thing that we realize today, that this is a beautiful, wonderful area to live in, pretty full of lush green acreage. And this would be a wonderful place to make movies. That's what they wanted to do here. This town was indeed supposed to be known as Picture City. And some of you are probably aware of that. That was around 1924. But around 1928, 29, a couple of things happened that kind of blew that idea away. One was the fact that there was a hurricane of 28 that came through here, and it just devastated things. And after that, the people from Picture City said, we better find another location. And who knows, maybe it was somewhere out in California called Hollywood. Maybe that's where they went, but they left here. And we know that by 1929, October 1929, there was something that devastated the whole country. And it was called the Great Depression. And as a result, the persons that had previously owned the property for Jupiter Island and Jupiter Island proper and the Hobe Sound company, they wanted to sell. Their land was not worth very much. However, there was an industrious man, and I think his name was mentioned earlier by Mrs. Miller, Mr. Barstow. Mr. Barstow was a man who had amassed a great fortune. He worked along with a guy by the name of Thomas Edison to bring the electric lights into New York and other places. He was apparently a very intelligent guy, because by the time that the stock market crashed, some say about 6 months before, he divested 30 companies. And he may, I think it was one of those rappers, Jay-Z, that said he may have had 99 problems, but money wasn't one. And he agreed, along with Mr. Reed and Mr. Pryor, who was Mr. Reed's brother-in-law, to buy the holdings for Jupiter Island. And this would have taken place in 1933. However, it took them a while to get rolling. Again, Jupiter Island itself, down to the fork of the road, was really nothing but a lot of dense brush. But these guys got to work right away, and they started clearing it, and they started building houses. And eventually, the people in Banner Lake, they were seasonal. They did not, most of the people did not live in Banner Lake year round. It was just like today, the snowbirds come here during the winter, and they leave after Easter. And so after Easter, the people, a lot of the people at Banner Lake, they would leave here and they would go north. But however, as Jupiter Island continued to flourish and get larger, the people found more work, and then they could continue to stay in the community year round. From this point, I'm gonna move right into the Dunbar Elementary School that was started in 1934. And the question for the panel will be, did you attend the Dunbar Elementary School? Tell us anything about it that you wish about your experiences there. And I know we have Diana Owens here, so she's not gonna be surprised with some of these answers, because I wanna know maybe who your favorite teacher was.
Okay. Before we went to Dunbar, now we had to go to Gomez to Miss Patway kindergarten, rather than the park, right there was the kindergarten. Then after kindergarten, we went to Dunbar for I think 2 years, 2 maybe 3. Then they segregated, so we was allowed to go to Hobe Sound Elementary. But we didn't have a bus, so we had to walk to school. And it was, I mean, it was fun walking, talking, but we had to be aware because there was dogs that would run after us and everything. But we managed to make it though, and we enjoyed it.
I went to Dunbar Elementary School in the Banner Lake community. My first grade teacher was Miss Bell Parker, and I truly believe that Miss Parker probably taught first grade to 100% of the residents that was in the Banner Lake community. My second grade, and the thing that Miss Parker was teaching us about was Alice, Jerry, and Jip. And even though we didn't have, like on some, you know, the listings today, the children do like their things they need to bring to school, supplies, like the Elmer glue and whatever, but we didn't have glue. Miss Parker came up, and I can't really remember exactly what was the ingredients for the glue. She made it, and then we would use newspaper, and we would make Alice, Jerry, and Jip. My second grade teacher was Mrs. Oliver, and Mrs. Oliver, she was indeed a very strict teacher. But at the end of the day, her greatest concerns was to make sure that all of the students got a better education. My third grade teacher at Dunbar Elementary was Miss Gaucher. And Miss Gaucher, she was young, and she was vibrant, and she was a good teacher. For a short period of time, I lived in Port Salerno. So I enjoyed the campus of, as you call it, Murray today. I went to that school 3 times. I went there in the 4th grade, and Miss Costello Williams, she was our principal, and I was there 4th grade. And then eventually, and you all know this is during segregation, and we were like bused from Port Salerno, and after the 4th grade, we went to East Stewart Elementary, and that was a part of Stewart Training School. And in the 5th grade, I had Miss Dolly Square Miller, and she was my 5th grade teacher. And at East Stewart Elementary, we had so many students in the 5th grade that we had 5th grade A, and we had 5th grade B. So I was with Mrs. Miller, and then Mrs. Patway, which is not Gertrude Patway, she had 5th grade B. And in the 6th grade, I had Miss Odom, 6th grade A, and 6th grade B, that was Mrs. Williams, who was Felix Williams' wife, because he was principal of the school. 7th grade, I get to go back to Murray, because that was Murray Junior Senior High School. And at that school, I had Mr. Rice as my homeroom teacher, and then we changed classes. And one of the things that Quilly MacArthur really instilled in us was current event. And he knew if you read the newspaper or if you didn't read the newspaper. By the time I got to the 8th grade, that's when integration happened. Integration for myself and others going over to Stewart Middle School, it was really hard. The teachers, not only the students treated the black students really bad, some of the teachers did too. So it was really rough for my class when we changed and went to integration. Then they take all the 9th graders and I go back to Murray, and we end up at the 9th grade. Murray became an all 9th grade school, and then I graduated 10th, 11th, and 12th from Martin County High School, the class of 72, which was one of the state championships.
Yeah, Loyal Wiley, nicknamed Bo Wiley. I went to Dunbar Elementary, and my first grade teacher was Miss Parker. And Miss Parker always brought an apple, and I was the one that got it. I went to Dunbar for only 3 years, and we started going over to the Hobe Sound Elementary School, and I was one of the first of our class to enter into that school. And it wasn't a pretty picture when we went over there. You know, it wasn't the kids, it was the parents. You know, you had, every parent, the parents were there. Oh, my kid this, my kid that, and that, and it was on both sides. And I had my principal. I don't remember the principal, but I remember Mr. Osborne and Miss Osborne was the teachers that was over at the Hobe Sound Elementary, and they was very kind to people, to us. And I didn't really get involved too much in the Hobe Sound Elementary. I want to say I know the principals, but I had an incident over there that I wanted to share, and which really made my mother. I'm proud of my mother. When they put me in the special class. I don't know if y'all know what a special class is, right? The short bus. And so I was more of a sports guy. I didn't want, that schoolwork I wasn't about. So they put me in this class, and so when I came home, I told my mom, I said, they got me in the special class. Boy, she hit the ceiling. She said, you going to school with me today, in the morning. So she went over there, and man, she told the principal. So the principal and the teacher said, well, if he can do the work, we'll give him this test. If he can do the work, then he can, attend with everybody else. So when I got home, I got the right understanding of what I needed to do. So I started attending with everybody else. But we had a lot of good teachers over there, and from there I went to the Murray Middle, which I can recall Mr. MacArthur, Coach McLean, and a couple of more. But today my memory goes and comes, But this was the most prominent area for his kids being just naturally good in sports, We started coach here. Coach Patterson was one of the first to start the community football league over here in Zeus Park. That was a park. It was baseball, and it was you had football over there for community. And we were the first football team to exist in Hobe Sound, the Hobe Sound Red Raiders. Mr. Terry Keithley, Tom Keithley's father owned it, the Ridgeway trailer park up there, or whatever they called it. And Mr. Tom Kenny, which was the mayor of Martin County at one time, and he was the coach. And they came down from Arkansas, I think it was Arkansas. They went to college school in Arkansas, and they decided they was going to help the community out and start some activities going on. And I remember those first years, because our first year, I had 13 touchdowns. Tom Keithley he was the first. He was like more like the head coach. So I used to run so fast. They said, "We're gonna put bells on your shoes." But it was a team effort. All the guys that played football in the community became very good friends. And when we went to Murray Middle, we all stuck together. When we went to Martin County High, we all stuck together. The community kids came real close. And I'll share one more thing. Donnie St. On was he was the son of the older St. Ons, and he was a real good friend of mine. But they would not let us visit each other. So I don't know. A lot of people may know where Harvey Bar was, right down the street there. It was a path that came across and down through there to where we lived. And so he used to sneak on down through that little path and come and visit. And so he would be in our room and we'd be in there playing. Then my daddy would come and say, "Boy, what the?" You know what I'm saying? You know, what's going on here? You know he don't supposed to be over here, you know. But all in all, you know, it was the same way with me. I would go to his house too. And so it didn't really matter. You know, and he became a permanent figure in this area. And the St. Honors, they were very good people. It's just that sometimes you know, what we were taught, you know, it wasn't really in our blood. It was just what we was taught. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
All right, I enjoyed everybody's experience in school. So now I want to say something about the school that I attended. Okay, but Dunbar. Okay. Gilbert Miller was the principal at that time. We did not really have a secretary. So he did just about everything, the discipline, but we always got lots of love, but he did everything because he really didn't have somebody to collect the money or whatever. We didn't have a lunchroom, but they did somehow manage to give us milk later on, which was good. But we had to get our own lunches. And some of the children would go over to Turner's store and get some crackers and bologna. I won't give them any names. And some of us would walk home like little kids. I don't recommend that now. But everything turned out very well. So I don't have any complaints about my background, any complaints about Dunbar Elementary School. And Mr. Gilbert was 5th and 6th grade at that time. Mrs. Parker was 1st and 2nd. A shout out to Diane. She was marvelous. She was always teaching us how to be the best that we could be. But one day she had us to write our name early on. Everybody write your name, or I'm going to get you. I'm going to give you a spanking. If you cannot write your name. I sit there and I went to crying. Because once in a while they would let us bring our sibling to school. And I had my little brother there, William, 2 years younger than I am. And all I'm thinking, she's gonna hit my brother. And that bothered me so much. So she asked, "Why are you crying? You can do this." I said, "Because he can't write his name." He said, "Yes, I can." Our mother taught us all of that before we went to school. We were not privileged to go to kindergarten here at Banner Lake. But I did go when I was in New Jersey. And you spoke of integration. Well, we didn't quite have that at Banner Lake at that point. But I had it in New Jersey, and that's the way I was able to go to kindergarten. But then in, third and fourth, I had Emma Jackson. Yes. And I was kind of maturing at that time, but then she taught us, if there is a disturbance in the neighborhood, you walk home. And one day I didn't walk home. I wanted to see the fight. And everybody who stayed to see the fight got a spanking. So, but anyway, I appreciate that because I learned my lesson. And I learned my lesson. And then from but that was it. 5th and 6th was Gilbert Miller. So we did have lunches, we had free milk, we could go to the store, as I said. We had to walk home if we wanted more lunch, but we did have a nurse coming. I don't know if y'all can remember Gail. All right, so we had vaccinations, whatever it was medically that we needed. And our parents could not do for us because we weren't privileged to that, to the medical side of it. So the school would make sure that we had whatever we needed. If we had an open wound, one student did have an open wound, and it took forever, the whole year, for that thing to heal. But the nurse came faithfully and attended to that lady until she was healed. And on May Day, we would decorate the maypole. Anybody remember the maypole around here? Religiously, we did the maypole. We had Bible study. I don't know if that was weekly or something like that. We did have that. And I'm thankful for that little bit, introduction to whatever I had to go through later on. So, we didn't have an office either. The principal did all of that. But there was lots of discipline in the school, and there was lots of love in the school. Banner Lake, yay! Dunbar Elementary School.
Well, that was a lot and very informative. Well, I went to Dunbar, and really, Miss Parker was our first and second grade teacher at the time. And then she went home to have Diane. So we had a sub, and that sub was Dolly Miller. She came. And then we went to Mrs. Jackson. She had the 3rd and 4th grade classes. And there we had spelling bees. Oh my goodness. We had to stand in front of the class and do our spelling. And we did pretty good. We really did. She didn't have to spank anybody. And then from there we went to Mr. Miller, Gilbert Miller, and that was the 5th and 6th grade. And we had a nice time. Like Ms. Miller said, the lady that came and did our Bible study, she had a felt board.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, she had every lesson that was to be taught. And the one I really loved was about Joseph. I love that story. But anyways, I went on to Stewart Training School after the 6th grade, and there, that was an experience. We had to change classes and learn all the teachers, and we did good, don't you think? I think we did good. We did good. The teachers were nice, I can say. We had Mrs. Wallace, who was our homeroom teacher, and then we had Mr. DeLancey, he was our math teacher, and then Mr. MacArthur, Quilly MacArthur, he was our social studies teacher, and Mr. Howell, Eli Howell, was our science teacher, and Mrs. Murray, she was our English teacher, and then there was Mr. Rice, who was our civic teacher. And then we had band instructors, and I was in the chorus. My husband was in the band. But anyways, they were nice. They treated us nice. I didn't get in trouble, but if one did come home and tell my mom and dad that I did get in trouble, I would get it again. So I tried very hard not to get in trouble while I was in school. But I did have one sister, her teacher came to the house and told mother about her attitude in school. And then after the teacher left, of course, it was on. And that taught us a lesson. I think at that time she was in the 10th grade. So she really gave us the experience of don't do stuff bad in school. And then after I graduated from high school, I was approached by Mr. Miller, Gibber Miller, and he asked me to be the secretary of Dunbar. And of course, he gave me we didn't have an application. There was no application. He just came by and asked Mother what she thought about me coming up to the school and helping out. So I went, and of course, I'm in this 5th and 6th grade classroom, and I'm typing. He giving me stuff to type, and I had to wait until he said, "Okay, Gloria, you can type now," because it would disturb the class. So I had to wait on him. Get all the information on the paper, and then we had to run it as an office, and then you have a Xerox machine. I take that back. It was not a Xerox machine. It was a memogram machine, one that you had to turn. Put the stencil on the barrel and turn it, and it will put the print on the paper. So I had to do that. It was really nice. And then he taught me how to drive a Volkswagen, a stick shift. I had to learn it because I had to start going to the bank in Stewart. So he came back with his Volkswagen and was teaching me how to drive until I got up on that hill, the hill. And I rolled all the way back to the other street well, halfway down the street, and I just about cried. He said, "You can do it, Gloria, you can do it. Just clutch, let out, and, get on up there." So I finally learned how to do that without choking the car. So anyways, I got the experience, and I started going up to Stewart to make the deposits. And then I got to the crossing, Confusion Corner crossing. I got to Confusion Corner, and a train was coming. So I'm still in this Volkswagen, and it's an incline, a little incline. And I'm sitting there, and I'm saying, "Oh, Lord, what am I going to do? Oh, Lord, what should I do?" So by that time, I said, "You got it, Gloria, you got it." So I started clutching and braking and holding on. I think I wore the brakes out, but anyways, I got it and made it on to the bank and made it up. So anyways, I had a nice experience in school, like I said, so I really enjoyed it.
I told you we didn't have a secretary. Didn't have an office.
That was in 1963. You were gone.
Well, I don't have too much to say because I know all these guys up here, and I'm older than all of them. And their teachers were my teachers. We went. They was my teachers, and they was my mom and dad. If I did something wrong, I got a whipping there, and I got a whipping when I got home. This disease that kids got now, the one that can't keep still, always moving, take a pill. I was the same way. Our conduct was bad. The teachers whooped me. My daddy and mama whooped me to that thing. They broke me out of that moving around. But that's where I learned not to talk back, not to bring home a car with bad conduct. And every kid up here, I even had them in football, baseball, and stuff. Bo said he did 100 some football touchdown. He probably did. He was a little rough. He ain't even half as big as he is now. He's the little thing on the team. But he had more heart than all of them out there. we learned basketball. I'm not going to stay here with Dunbar because they explain Dunbar just like I would have to explain. Our athlete physically was out in a softball field. We built our own basketball team. Gilbert Miller brought in moral heart that's just hard as rock. And they had cross ties that we laid it out. And that way, I learned to play basketball on an asphalt court. And not an asphalt, clay court. And that's really rough. And like I say, I can't remember all the names of the kids because I taught football, baseball, that high, as big as he is, taller. I probably chastised him some too, but he grew up, got grown, and I can't chastise him now. You know, all I had to do out there on that football field when one of Miss Alu kids come up, it threatened to tell Miss Alu that what they did. And they can straighten up just like that because she believed in not talking back to a grown person, not doing what you're supposed to do, and she will whoop you in a minute. Every one of them, they know them. So, I told y'all I wasn't a speaker. Thank you very much.
What I would like to do though, I don't think that we could ever, two things I want to bring out. First thing is that there is a lady, and I really don't remember her name, but the historical oral part and written part goes like this. There were some that wanted a school in Banner Lake, and some people didn't. And so on the school board, there was one lady who held out, and she wanted a school in Banner Lake. And there was an organization, some of you may have heard of it, it's called the Julius Rosenwald Foundation. And Mr. Rosenwald, I believe, was a president out of Chicago. And he made a commitment that he would put schools in black neighborhoods and black areas. So they knew they had the money to build the school, but they needed the land. And while the majority of the school board did not want to build a school, this lady held fast, and she insisted that they build a school. Then she was joined by a gentleman, and I believe his name was Arbogast. And eventually what he did was he secured the money, and he bought the 4 acres. And so that 4-acre property, where we see what was the remnants of the Dunbar Elementary School, that also holds the current LIFT program. After he was able to secure the land, the school board relented, and that's how we eventually got to Dunbar Elementary School. Some of you who have the packets, you can see the 2-room building. That's actually the Dunbar, the first school, and then it was extended. They brought in trailers and they brought in other things. But I just want to rest for a second with Gilbert Miller, because all of the teachers that were named here, they did an exceptional job with almost anything. That when you look at what I'm just going to say the roll call is of students that graduated through the Dunbar Center, like Mrs. Miller said, a lot of the families, included mine, we didn't wait for kindergarten. You had to start on your education before you ever left home. And it made an advantage. And eventually, we had some astounding people that came out of the neighborhood. and I've got to say, this one gentleman was a part of the Banner Lake and Gomez, and that was Lorenzo Ferguson. And he would eventually become a heart surgeon in Detroit. And I'm not going to blow my own horn, but you know, we had some help with some people off of Jupiter Island. Their name was the Ridgeways, and they helped me and they helped my family. And my sister was able to graduate from Bethune-Cookman College in Daytona Beach. She became a chemist, and then she eventually became a very successful attorney in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania with the EPA. But Gilbert Miller would never ever, if we had another 3 hours, we wouldn't have enough to say about him. This was a military veteran who came back to his community and he gave all that he had. He was like a one-man wrecking machine. Like Gloria said, Mrs. Patterson said, he told her that she was able to be a secretary, and that's what he developed her into. There was a period whereby, like they said, we did not have a cafeteria. And so there was these old box crates that somebody had put together, and we would go over to Hobe Sound Elementary. They had a cafeteria, and we'd slide the lunch trays in there, and just imagine, maybe it was hot when they put it in the box trays, but by the time they got it back over to the school, a lot of times it was really not that hot. But this guy was the chief cook and bottle washer. He was the disciplinarian. He was the coach. He was the advocate for the entire community. And of course, I'm not sure if I said he was a military veteran. I know we're getting close to the cutoff hour, but what I want to do is get in two more subjects. One will be the amount of veterans that we had in the community, and then I want to talk about maybe the families and the persons from Jupiter Island where some of the families work. But Douglas, I want to come back to you. I didn't forget about you. And if you want to talk about your school and about Gilbert Miller, it's all yours.
Gilbert Miller, he was my first cousin. His daddy and my daddy were brothers. And I went to school in Gomez first 5 years in New Mount Zion Church. We didn't have a school. And sixth grade, I went and we had a little one-room school. And I graduated from there on to Stewart Training School in 1943. And then after maybe 7 or 8 years, they tore the school down, and the property just stayed there for years and years. And by that time, I was working over at the Jupiter Island Club, and my mother told me to ask Mr. Reed to make a playground out of it, and I drove him over there, and he took a look at it, and that's what it is right now, a playground. They got the basketball court and all that stuff for the children to play on. So we saved that. But I left high school, STS, in 1949, and went to Florida A&M for a short time. Then graduated, and left there and went in the Air Force, served lots of places. Alaska, Japan, Canada for a short time, and all over the United States. And then I came up with a medical after 10 years. So I could have went to the Army, but I didn't want to start with the Army after that at the time. Foot soldier, I was a mechanic, airplane mechanic. So I did get a job at Pratt & Whitney for a while, and they lost a big contract. Left there and went to Jupiter Island. That's where I retired from in 1993. So, yeah, Gilbert was a school bus driver too while he was teaching school. Just like you say, he did almost everything. Didn't have to be all retired. Mr. Quilly and Gilbert and all us, we had a golf team. We played golf for quite a few years until they all died out. As a matter of fact, I'm the last one. We had about 16 of us was retired. So I enjoyed that, but now I don't play anymore myself. I use it. That's all I have.
Again, due to the lateness of the hour, what I'd like the panel to do is to cover any relationship that you have with the Banner Lake Club and your memories of any activities there. Certainly, Mr. Patterson, when we get to you, I know you talked a lot about the boxing and other things that took place there. If you could give us a word on that. And then, if you look in the packets that you have, Banner Lake had one of the best baseball programs around. And it started with a men's kind of a major league program, and it also had a little league program that was one of the best in the southeast of Florida. And Queen, I'll turn that over to you.
Yes, our baseball team was one of the best. We went years without losing. Everybody was scared to play us. I mean, we had nothing to do but go to the baseball field every day, practice. So all of us was real good. I mean, the World Series there, they couldn't beat us back then. They definitely couldn't beat us. But I wanted to mention one thing. I went to school with Harry and John. See, and we used to have to walk home, so this was my road my grandmother stayed on. I went to high school and I played basketball, and my number one supporter was Harry. My number one supporter was Harry.
One of the fondest memories that I know about growing up in the Banner Lake community was the Banner Lake Club. And we referenced that as the club. The club was a multi-functioning center. When we were at Dunbar Elementary, we would utilize the club for plays, and we would also utilize the club, like she was mentioning earlier, as a runoff of the Martin County Health Department, because this is all during segregation, and we weren't allowed to go to the health department in Stewart. So the nurse, her name was Miss T-Shack. She would come to the Banner Lake Club, and she would take care of all of our needs. And also at the Banner Lake Club, there were social events. And that was adult social events, there were senior social events. There was even once upon a time, like when my grandmother was alive, they had a senior upholstery class that was done there. And that was enjoyable too. The Banner Lake Club, we started out with the director, and his name was Benny Williams. But Mr. Williams, which I think it was from Atlanta, but coming here to the Hobe Sound area where there's tons and tons of woods, he eventually left. And then we had M.L. Hurst. And when Mr. Hurst came to the club, he turned around everything that we had going. And just like Mr. Queen said, he ended up with a baseball team that was just incredible. And one of the coaches was also, his name was Mr. Benedict, Mr. Hersey Jackson, M.L. Hurst, and then any other volunteers that was available. And we had a baseball field too. And that was at the end of Comas. And you can guarantee when it was like a Sunday afternoon, everybody in the Banner Lake community was right down there. And at that field, it was really a professional field, to be totally honest. And they had some really good players. And this one older gentleman, his name was Mr. Buckle. Mr. Buckle did not play when it came to refereeing. And when you was out, you had to get out or get cursed out. One of the two. But it was so enjoyable. And then we also had a concession stand. And the chief cook in the concession stand was Miss Ida Lou Harris. and she didn't play the radio. When you came over there and you ordered, I think at that time people did a lot of fish sandwiches and then there was like peanuts and everything. You put your order in and you waited patiently until your order was done. And then right beyond that baseball area, there were these white sands and hills, and that's where the Pine School is, some of that now. We used to roll off of those hills forever and a day because that was a part of our enjoyment as far as being kids. And in there, we also had hickory nuts. We would do that. And then in the Banner Lake, which is the Banner Lake, which is right beyond the Banner Lake Park. That's where the churches that's in the neighborhood, they use that as baptism. And then also a lot of kids, they went into that lake, but I never did that because my dad was a 5-star general and he didn't play the radio. But I just look at Banner Lake Club. It was a lighthouse that set up on a beacon that was setting up on a hill. And when we were growing up too, coming from over on Jupiter Island would be like a fire engine with a Santa Claus on it. And all the kids in the neighborhood would run up to the center, and that's where we got our gifts. And that went on for years. And then eventually, Harry MacArthur, and we thank him so much for what he's done as far as Christmas and bringing in gifts to our neighborhood. So the last thing that I want to say, when I was growing up in Banner Lake, I really was not missing anything, you guys, because at the end of the day, it was segregation. And we was just within those walls. But we did eventually, if we had to get something from the store, it was like 2 of us or more, we would walk out. There was 2 stores, St. Orange, and then there was Miss Cohen's. And Miss Cohen's, she would let us run a tab to get what we needed, because at that time, my grandmother, she worked on Spicer's Farm, and eventually she got a job on Jupiter Island, and she was working for Miss Westervelt, but eventually she became Demanoir. And then my grandfather, he worked for the Frasers. But when the week was over, she would send us back out there, and we would just square up the money that we owed. And the greatest thing that I remember about her was that Miss Cohen's, that no matter what was going on, and you needed something from her store, it was granted, because she was sticking more of the kids. So Banner Lake is still as near and dear to my heart, because I have so many fond memories being there. Thank you.
Yeah, I had a lot of great memories in Hobe Sound. I used to be the bat boy of the Negro League professional baseball team. And they had a bus that they go to all these different towns, you know, like they would go to West Palm Beach, Okeechobee, they call it Wabassa, Vero. The team would go all over the southern state of Florida and play. And let me tell you, they were good, you know. They had a few players from the Hobe Sound team to go to play professional ball. You know, all the communities wanted to come and play for the Hobe Sound Red Sox. And when I was a little boy, though, it was all dirt roads. And then they had the park. The football field was white sand. It was a pile of white sand out there, and that's where everybody go to play. After school, you end up out there in the white sand, and it was a lot of fun. And then the lake was right down there too. I remember when we played one morning, and so all of the guys said, "Oh, well, let's go swimming." And so we went down there and went swimming. And this man, I ain't gonna even mention his name, he grabbed all our clothes. He grabbed all our clothes and took them to my grandma, Miss Ida Lou Harris. So we got a whooping then, and every one of us got a whooping when we went home. But Hobe Sound, for me, was our family was the Queens, the Jacksons, the Prestons, you know, it was all Hobe Sound was connected in one way or another. So I was raised by the community. You know, the community raised me. Like Coach Patterson said, I had a lot of heart, but I wasn't no saint either. You know what I'm saying? You know, and a lot of things we did as kids, it was for fun. You know, I remember my mom working for Mr. Nelson Doubleday. He was a big book publisher out of New York, and she used to tell us, well, we ain't gonna never have to worry about going hungry, because Mr. Doubleday said that when you go buy grocery for us, you go buy grocery for your family too.
Yes.
And I remember that. So my dad ended up having a landscaping company also. So I used to work, my dad worked for the town of Jubilee Island. And so when I came from school, before I went to football practice, I had to go over there and do the yards, you know, which was something I didn't like, but I did, you know. My dad, Cecil Wilder, he was a pretty big part of the Hobe Sound community. I think he was like a carpenter. I bet you I've been on every roof in Hobe Sound. You know, most of the houses was made of wood, so he did a lot of helping people in the community. Then when the houses needed repairing or remodeling, put windows in, fix leaks. You know, he was you know, and to say this, to say that, because he dead and gone now. My dad was like a Rolling Stone, you know what I'm saying? My dad had 21 kids. But my family from Hobe Sound, though, he lived prominently, basically in Hobe Sound. He was my hero. You know, during the time of us growing up, a lot of families, you know, I'm a straight shooter, had a lot of dysfunction within the family. Growing up, you know, and kids had it tough.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You still respect your mother and father or the elderlies, but it wasn't easy. But though it wasn't easy, you know, that's why I'm here today. You know, I'm an ex-military veteran, and I did a lot of time over in Europe. Today I work with a lot of veterans, and a lot of the veterans that don't have benefits or need benefits or just need help getting medical care. That's what me and my wife do. And my wife is a very pertinent part of my life. We've been married 45 years. And we help veterans, and we work with in other organizations also, you know. So thanks for letting me share, you guys.
Banner Lake, living in the Banner Lake community. I didn't need anything because the neighbors, the employers, they were always helpful. And you mentioned that lake back then, I was baptized in that lake.
Right.
It's a part of our community.
That's right.
But the ballpark, I never had a chance to go. My dad said, you don't do sports on Sunday. So, but the brothers, of course, slipped off anyway. They got to do things and go places. And my mom, I'll just throw this in, for the Banner Lake area, she was doing shirts for Nathaniel Reed. And she religiously ironed it, and they looked like they were brand new when she finished. And the underwear, everything, she was just pressing everything. So I said, I'm never doing shirts. And I don't. You could take them over to the laundry, all those pretty white shirts, no. So that was something I just didn't want to do, because I saw her stand there just, but anyway. And then my sister lived at Banner Lake Club. They would clean up after the dances that you mentioned, that we had dances and everything up there. So they had an apartment there, Vivian and Jackie Grant, and that's what they did. And that covered their rent at that particular time. So, and then our high school had a play, and we did it down at the Banner Lake Club. So it was very useful for the community and also for the high school. It just played a part in our lives that we will never forget. And to this day, they blessed me this Christmas. They bought me a beautiful basket, but that was under the present day Harry L. So I'm thankful for what's going on then and what's going on now at the Banner Lake Club. Oh, and then my father's employer would come every year, and for whatever she came for, but there was always a program, Mrs. Foster. And we would always give her flowers, and she knew my dad's name, of course. So it had to always be one of the little moment children, there was 9 of us, to present her with the flowers and to make a little presentation, because that's a name that she knew. So we just came up that way, and I'm back home after so many years. Oh, and I want to say this about the husband that I was blessed to have as a veteran. When he went down to take his test, he made the highest score. He won't tell it. He made the highest score. He had to go to West Palm Beach that they had ever had. Douglas Miller.
Well, my fondest memory of growing up in the Banner Lake area was, like Gail had said, all the plays that we participated in at the club when we were growing up. And I had to have the longest speech. You couldn't give me a short speech when I was on program. I learned that speech and I got up there so proudly and gave it all I had. And that's just was me. And to this day, my husband said he doesn't like to talk, but he does. I might talk more, but he does. But anyways, also going to the park, we didn't have nothing but, like I said, a clay basketball court and all the swings, and just having a good time in the woods. That was where we spent most of our time, in the woods. And going, looking for Christmas trees and who's gonna chop it down. It was just fun. It was just the nice memories of growing up and having fun. And I think that's about it. Oh, my daddy was also an umpire for the baseball. And the Harris family gave him heckles all the time. Oh my God. They will holler, "Watch, do you need glasses?" That was not a strike, that was a ball. So me being in the crowd, I had to leave my daddy alone. But it was so much fun growing up in the Banner Lake area.
Banner Lake is and still is one of my favorite places. I played baseball with them. I played football, which I'm not a football coach, but I played with them. I played softball with Mr. Anderson for years, and he's a baby still to me, and he older than everybody up here. And I learned how to box at the Banner Lake Club. They used to have a boxing team go up there. And the only reason I went up there, my classmate, which is a Harris, got into a fight. And I took it over, and the coach called us, and he put me on some 16-ounce gloves I played. Anybody ever put any boxing gloves on? You cannot pick a 6-pound, a 12-pound glove up too long before it go down there and it wouldn't come up. But my classmate, he practiced up at the club. And I think he whipped me. I gave up. And then I promised myself I was going up to the club and learn how to use gloves. Nobody never beat me again. Like, he didn't beat me, but he beat me. So there were many things at Hobe Sound that I did. Like, baseball. I played baseball with his daddy. His daddy was a good baseball player. He played with Buddy Preston, which is deceased. Buddy was a good baseball player. So it was in the blood for them to be good. I would consider myself good, but I wasn't as good as Buddy or none of the other older guys, which were 15 years older than me. And I was probably 15 or 20 years older than them too. They played softball with me. I made them cry a lot. you know, they wanted to know how come you play softball with that team there and don't play with the family team. That family team with the Prestons. But I made them suffer. As Tony over there is my friend. We used to whoop them so bad there till they learned to play softball. And we had to accept what they learned. So baseball, they can say Dean back there, Mr. Alou back there, boy, they had a cheering squad whenever they played sports. That's one thing I knew about that family. That family was, if it was in Martin County, anywhere out of the state, if they took the basketball team somewhere, believe it, the family was there somewhere. And they were together. And I feel good because I coached most of them. In Little League baseball, football, softball, basketball. So I'm still around. They still remember they remember everything good. They know the state. We played around the state too. And at my age, I started playing baseball with his uncle at 15. And they would tell me nothing how to play baseball or nothing. I learned it from playing with my two brothers. And I believe I could have, and my brothers could have kept up with most of them. So I'll just let you know, Harrison person, they was after me, and I'm after their dad. I'm after their daddy, because they didn't help me. They laughed at me for striking out. Oh, here come another strikeout. Give him a K before he get to the bat. But I love them. Bo said he run 100 foot. I guess he said 130, 13. I guess 100 plus. So I love Hobe Sound, and I still love Hobe Sound.
Hey, Harry, why don't you come on up, Harry? We're gonna wrap it up. But I just want to close by saying again that I thank each and every one of you that came out to support this effort. There's a lot of history that will remain unsaid. We couldn't cover it all tonight, but certainly Hobe Sound is a wonderful place. We didn't talk a lot about the relationship with Jupiter Island, but certainly Jupiter Island was, they were a godsend. They did a lot of things to benefit the community. I met Mr. and Mrs. Bassett here tonight. The Bassetts, that name is probably over 50 years or more on Jupiter Island. Yeah, and right?
1924.
1924, that's 100 years. Well, we just want to say we thank you for your support, for coming out tonight. And Harry, this guy's incredible. They were talking about when Santa used to come to town. All the kids in the community used to gather up at the clubhouse, and maybe from, by the time he was 5 or 6 minutes away, you could just hear the sirens. Now that's been placed by Harry MacArthur, and Aaron Dane. Bo Dane is the Santa nowadays, and Harry will give you that final word.
Well, I have those same memories. You know what? That's the only reason I do it is the memories that we had as a kid is for the toys at Christmas. Because, I mean, that was the biggest time of the year. I mean, it was everything to us. I mean, and you'd hear that fire truck coming and you're like, oh, it was everything. And a couple of stories there. You know what? About me over in Hobe Sound Elementary, a school teacher, I had her in 2nd grade. She was a Hawaiian woman. Her name was Mrs. Hobe. And I didn't remember the story until about 10 years later. And that was the end of my Hobe Sound Elementary. Because I would come home and I would jump on the trampoline and everything, ho, ho, ho. Everything was, my dad said, get him out of that damn school. And we moved over to Hobe Sound Christian School, all because I should have been on the short bus. I was a slow learner. I am, you know what? But for some reason, when I get a name in my head, I just couldn't stop saying it. And my dad just went, oh, this boy, there's something wrong with him. Oh, you know, what?
I said, I used to say that all the time.
Yeah, oh yeah. Listen, Diane been saying it for 60 years, and she was right, you know. But
Always half naked.
yeah, no clothes. Yeah, no clothes. And another thing about Banner Lake, this and my brother and Donnie St. Ange was mentioned here earlier. That, you know what, loved Donnie, was a dear friend. And so I don't know, we're around, 12, 13, 14. We're talking about girls in Hobe Sound, and you know what? They said girls in Hobe Sound, all the pretty girls in Banner Lake. Donnie said, is there blonde hair? He goes, I never leave that place. and that's just, because it was a common thing. I mean, if the white boys are talking about it, we're not saying anything, but you know what? We always said the ones in our town are ugly and mean. The white. So, anyway, just a funny thing, but you know, just I love these memories, but we have to talk and figure out whether we need another one on Banner Lake, or we'll try to do this in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and let's get together and, you know, let's talk about it now or later and see what happens, because I think we need more of this history out there, and so we'll go from there. And thank you for the Stewart Heritage for filming this. Thank you. I'm sorry that, you know what, I didn't get the word out, that you got the word late. It's just one more thing I'm bad at, you know. It only goes back to my 2nd grade teacher, you know what? But I just couldn't get one word out of my head, and I still can't get a word out of my head. So here it is. Let's talk about it and see about coming back. And we need to do one on Gomez, on Petway, and Fruta, or combine those two. Everybody get together and tell me what you think, because we need this history preserved. Thank you.
And again, a final thank you to our cameraman, Mr. Greg Gardner. And again, you can go to Hobe Sound Pioneers, or you can go to YouTube at the Stewart Heritage, and you'll be able to find some of these recordings and just pass the word. Thank you again.
Thank you.